A person gazing into the sky on a clear night would look up in awe at the stars piercing the darkness. Such a breathtaking sight would naturally lead one to wonder, how did this universe, which we call home, get its start? And what are the laws that govern it? The order of the heavens. How the universe began is a question that has fascinated people throughout the ages. Many scientists and philosophers agreed on one truth concerning the origin of the universe, namely that it had beginning and was created. However, in the 19th century Europe, some circles began to speak out against this truth. What lay at the basis of their opposition was a dogma originally put forth by a number of Greek philosophers, a philosophical tradition known as materialism. This philosophical system considers matter, without basing this claim on any scientific grounds, to be the absolute basis of existence, rejecting the existence of anything else. 19th century materialists, under the influence of certain ancient Greek philosophers, wanted to carry this dogma into astronomy, and so they claimed that the universe had no beginning and had in fact existed for all eternity. In this way, they also denied the existence of a creator. Years later, this materialist view was disproved by 20th century science. Observations and calculations showed that the universe was created by a large explosion some 15 billion years ago. The world of science came to accept the fact that the universe had been created. Science finds God, trumpeted the cover of a famous magazine. Now let's travel back in time to the beginning of the 1900s and see how the Big Bang Theory was formulated. Science discovers creation. In 1922, the Russian physicist Alexander Friedman produced computations showing that the structure of the universe was not static and that even a tiny impulse might be sufficient to cause the whole structure to expand or contract according to Einstein's theory of relativity. In fact, Albert Einstein, judging from the calculations he made in the field of theoretical physics, had concluded that the universe could not be static. However, he put his findings aside as not to oppose the then prevailing idea of a static and infinite universe. He would later recall this withdrawal as the biggest blunder of his life. In fact, even before 1922, some clues pointing to an expanding universe had already been discovered. But then it was thought that there was one single galaxy in the universe, the Milky Way. But in 1912, American astronomer Vesto Melvin Slipher observed a nebula, a part of a galaxy. In other words, and used the wavelength measurements of the light emitted by this nebula. The wavelength shifts showed that the nebula was moving away. However, due to the primitive scientific level of the time, no one could properly interpret this precious information. The calendar read 1929 when something different happened. Using an industrialized kiln, the largest kiln that had ever been built, workers were fashioning a colossal mirror. This giant mirror was going to be placed in a telescope which was larger and more powerful than earlier models, and the telescope was destined to be used at California's Mount Wilson Observatory, which would witness one of the most important discoveries of all history. Edwin Hubble, a prominent astronomer of the time, was the person behind this great discovery. Hubble had earlier discovered galaxies outside of our own Milky Way and so revolutionized humanity's view of the universe. That year, he made another great discovery with this new telescope at Mount Wilson Observatory. Through months of observations, he came to notice that the light from the galaxies was red-shifted. This red color had a physical significance. According to the laws of physics, the spectrum of a light source that is moving away from the point of observation gradually shifts to red. Therefore, this observation pointed to a fact that was unknown before that time. All the galaxies in space are moving away from our own. This discovery came like a bombshell in the world of science. Soon, science was going to confirm a very important reality. Hubble was on the brink of making yet another important discovery. The galaxies were moving away not only from us but also from each other. The distance between galaxies was growing all the time. There was only one way to interpret this: the universe was expanding. So, taking together the observations and theoretical calculations of Hubble that we have just seen and observed expansion of the universe, what did all this mean? In order to better understand how the universe is expanding, we should try picturing the entire universe as the surface of a balloon that we are inflating. On this balloon, we've drawn a number of equidistant dots. As the balloon gets bigger, the dots on the balloon get farther and farther away from each other. This shows that the further we go back in time, back all the way to the very beginning, eventually we see that the universe was nothing but a single point. Calculations show that this single point had zero volume and infinite density. In science, a point with zero volume means nothingness. The universe came into being with the explosion of this point. Scientists call this explosion the Big Bang. The Big Bang shows that the universe was made from a non-existent state. In other words, it was created. Next, we'll see how these scientific facts were actually laid out long time ago in the Quran.